So, Luke, obviously, we just had some problems with recordings, and fortunately, we hadn't really finished it. We'd actually only been talking for half an hour. That's not very long, is it, Luke?
It's not.
But in that time, we said a few things, so let's just quickly go through those things as fast as possible. Number one, we are on iTunes now. However, while we're on iTunes, we can only upload 3 episodes a month to iTunes because there's not enough space on the thing we're on. Isn't that weird, Luke? That you can't have enough space on podcasts, even though podcasts are such a huge thing, and audio doesn't really require that much space. And YouTube, YouTube requires audio and visuals, and yet you can't have unlimited space on YouTube. I mean, you can. Rushing it, Luke. Now it's a disaster. You can have unlimited space on YouTube, but you can't have unlimited space on podcast sites. It makes no sense. Also, Luke, the thing that you were going to talk about.
Yeah, it's our 50th Select and Reflect podcast. So there's...
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to do the intro now. You ready for this, Luke?
Yeah, let's go.
Back up, chump, Biggie Smalls rips it quick and kicks it quick. You know how black niggas get. With the hood fatigues, with the boots with trees. Flipping trees, making crazy G's. Hitting buckshots at niggas that open spots on the avenue. Take my loot and I'm bagging. Pippin' hoes that drive Bobos and rodeos. Flash the roll, make a wet in they pantyhose. Damn, a nigga style is unorthodox. Grip the clock when I walk down the crowded block. Just in case a nigga wanna act out, I just black out, blow the motherfucking back out. That's a real nigga for you.
Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films that can't be released in the cinema and see if they hold up on a second watch. This week we are going to be continuing our DC Ember with our last ever installment in DC Ember, which means it's the last time we can ever do that pun, and we're going to be looking at Justice League, where it all comes together. And Luke, why don't you tell us a thing or two about Justice League? You know what, I just realized it's going to be absolutely hilarious when I guess the box office.
I know, let's go though. So Justice League is a 2017 American superhero film based on the DC Comics superhero team of the same name. It is a follow-up to the 2016 Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice film and the 5th installment in the DC Extended Universe. It is directed by Zack Snyder, and the screenplay is by Chris Terrio and Joss Whedon. It stars Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, Gal Gadot, Ezra Miller, Jason Momoa, Ray Fisher, Amy Adams, Jeremy Irons, Diane Lane, Connie Nielsen, and J.K. Simmons. It was released on November 17th, 2017. Michael, guess the budget.
Well, Luke, I think that this probably even more money than the Batman v Superman because of all the reshoots. The reshoots were added to the budget. For that reason, I'm going to guess it cost $300 million.
Wow, Michael, you are exactly correct. What a great guess. Well done. I guess that was a tribute to Zack Snyder's 300 movie, eh?
Yes. It sounds so spontaneous now.
What did it make at the box office?
I think it made... you know what, the funny thing is I actually still can't quite remember. I think it made about $650 million, which of course I imagine would be much less because people no longer have faith in these DC films because they're shit.
Yes, $657 million to be precise, Michael, and it had a break-even point of $715 million.
That means it lost money.
Movie, yeah, it was a box office bomb, and it lost the studio approximately $60 million, while also making it the lowest overall gross of the DCEU.
Wow. You know what, they you know what they should have done, because they should have made money from it. That would have been a good trick.
It would have been, yeah.
Yeah, but for some reason they made an absolute failure. Speaking of which, Luke, did you like this film?
I can't say I did, Michael.
No.
Can't say I did.
Me neither. But...
Yeah.
I always get this. Do we do plot next or nitpicks next?
Yeah, well, the plot's relatively simple,
exactly,
Michael.
So
I'll just go for it. So basically there's this bad guy called Steppenwolf, and he doesn't like people living. So what he's going to do is he's going to come to Earth, he's going to try and destroy it by collecting these mother boxes, and the Justice League are going to stop him.
Yeah,
that's it.
It's really simple.
And they've got to revive Superman.
I tell you what, Luke, it's a good thing the call accidentally ended. I think it was me who accidentally ended it, because I was using Alt-Tab to switch between the different tabs. I don't know if you know you can do that, Luke, but if you press Alt and then Tab, switch between tabs. But I have a feeling that if you just press Tab on its own, it ends the Skype call, and I know that now. But it's a good thing I did that, because otherwise we could have finished the whole discussion. Anyway, nitpicks.
We got lucky. Okay, nitpicks.
How many have you got? I've got 2, and I've got 2 lit picks.
Oh, you're still going to do them, are you?
Yeah, well, annoyingly, your responses, you found one of them really funny, and your laugh's not going to be as sincere. You have to work on a really good fake laugh.
I'll try. Okay, I'll try. So you do your 2 nitpicks first.
All right, my 2 nitpicks are, number 1, the mustache. It was absolutely terrible. It was the fakest thing in the world. And it just... I mean, what they should have done, Luke, if we're honest, is they should have actually CG'd a mustache onto the scenes where he didn't have a mustache. Because that way, it would have, I imagine it's much easier to CG a mustache on than to CG a mustache off, because if you CG a mustache on, it's basically just like sticking a little fake mustache on someone with a computer. But if you take it off, I mean, that's giving someone fake skin on top of a mustache. That's really weird to imagine.
Yeah.
It would be a bit like, here's my analogy, Luke. It would be like if you wanted to pretend to be bald. So you spray painted, skin-coloured paint all over your hair. Do you think that would be a sensible thing to do, Luke?
No, I don't.
Exactly.
No. It just sums up the whole DCEU,
Exactly.
that just one thing.
Yeah.
It has a fucking CGI Superman's mustache off him.
It is. It's a little joke. It kind of feels like something that would happen in a comedy where, something terrible's happened and they come up with a ridiculous solution to it, and it kind of, smash cuts to a shot of them doing that stupid thing.
Yeah, it is something like would happen in Arrested Development.
I was thinking of the popular film Little Miss Sunshine, where they steal the dead granddad's corpse from the hospital.
Oh, okay. I wasn't thinking that.
Anyway, and then number 2, and this one was boring the first time, Luke. So basically, the bomb was supposed to destroy 4 blocks. However, when she throws it in the air,
Wonder Woman bomb. Yeah.
When she throws it in the air, it doesn't. The radius of the bomb, if it was capable of destroying 4 blocks, should have still killed everyone. Of course, it didn't sound as boring then because I said it really fast.
Yeah. Well, I disagree with that, Michael.
But what are your 4? What are your? It's so inorganic because anyway, what are your 4 nitpicks, Luke?
So my 4 nitpicks. So is Wonder Woman the Flash now, Michael? Same thing from your scene. Basically, Wonder Woman magically, well, I guess magically may be the wrong word, but she manages to block all these bullets, and she goes really fast. And it's like, I didn't know she had this power. She didn't have it in the first Wonder Woman. Has she got it now? Is she rapid? I'm not sure. I don't know. What do you think's the reason for it, Michael?
I think the problem is that you can't have an ability but not be able to move it. That would be a bit like, obviously we know that one of Russia's historical problems has been that they have a lot of manpower, but they're not very good at mobilizing their army. So that's why they always are really shit at the beginning of wars. They can't mobilize their army, and then eventually they're like, okay, we've got enough horses now, we can get our army together. Basically, that's Wonder Woman. She has to mobilize her power. Maybe... See, here's what I think, okay? Wonder Woman, she's a bit like Captain America, in that she's not, so OP, but she's a bit OP. So maybe she can actually, work out and become better at things. So obviously Superman, the idea of working out for Superman is just ridiculous. Superman's not going to work out, because that would just be mental. He'd be curling planets. But Wonder Woman, maybe she's hitting the treadmill. Maybe that was a point where she was like, okay, shit, Superman, he's really fast. I'm going to hit the treadmill. And maybe that's why she actually put in work. That would be good. I'd like to see a little Rocky montage with Gal Gadot.
Oh, God. Okay. Next up, the Steppenwolf CGI is just awful. We'll talk about his character later.
Yeah.
But
they should have covered him up with a big fake mustache.
It would have looked better, Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah, the CGI is just terrible. There's a lot of CGI in general in this film, but that really was bad. It looks like a character from a video game in the mid-2000s.
Yeah, exactly. The PlayStation 2 era.
Yeah, right, that era.
Yeah, I think that would be... You know what, actually, okay, you remember Pixels and how it was all about, video games from the 80s taking over?
Yeah.
What if you had, and obviously it's, obviously Pixels because you can see the pixels. I'm looking forward to the Uncanny Valley film where a load of, in the future, a load of characters from the PlayStation 2 era take over. So you get, Crash Bandicoot running around and everyone's like, wow, that doesn't look quite convincing, but slightly more convincing than Pac-Man.
Oh, what was that one beginning with R? It was Rock. This character on PlayStation 2.
Rocco, the Rocky Rock Man.
It was Raccoon something. I'll look it up later.
Rocky Raccoon. I feel like Rocky Raccoon.
No, it wasn't Rocky Raccoon.
You think of Rocky Road? That's a thing.
No, I'm not thinking of Rocky Road.
Anyway, do you have any more nitpicks?
Yeah.
Okay, last one?
A couple more.
Really?
No, just 2 more, Michael.
I thought you had one more.
Next one, the mother box.
Oh yeah. Now a lot of people don't know this, Luke, but box can be a slang for a vagina.
It can be.
and therefore that would be what people would think it was standing for.
Yeah. The thing is, like, they could have just called it the Mother Cube.
They could have called it the Hypercube.
Yeah, they could have called it the Tesseract.
Yeah.
But they had to go with the Mother Box. Which is just a very funny thing. Yeah, I'm surprised one of the characters didn't make a joke about that, Michael.
I'm surprised the Flash didn't make a joke about it. He could have said, "What did you say about my mother's box?" And then everyone could go, "Isn't your mother dead?"
Classic.
Yeah.
So my next one. How did Aquaman know where the rest of the Justice League were when they were in Gotham Harbor?
He heard the vibrations through the water.
Did he?
And I had a similar issue with how Superman got there. Yeah, but of course we established that he also heard the vibrations through the air. Because Superman, his thing is the air. Aquaman's thing is the water. So.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm not surprised that Superman managed to go to Russia to save all them people because he's Superman. But Aquaman's just like a ship beside him. Like, how did he manage to do that?
You know what? I mean, here's the thing. Okay, so you know how Poseidon basically is like the sea. I assume. I mean, I'm not a massive Poseidon expert. You know, I know I pretend I am, but I'm not like the world's biggest Poseidon expert.
Yeah, no, you've been called out on that many times.
Yeah, but like as far as I understand, Poseidon is the sea. You know, he is kind of like the way that people say like God is the universe. Poseidon is the sea, and therefore he can just automatically materialize out of nothing. That's my theory. I can't completely confirm that is true, but I just feel like it's true deep down in my heart. And if that is true, then maybe he can just automatically. I mean, I think that would be neat. Like, wouldn't that make him like so much cooler? Did you know how Electro could just become lightning and then become a human?
Are you saying like Electro?
Yeah,
that was a cool, good idea.
Yeah. I'm appealing to Electro from The Amazing Spider-Man 2 as a good example of a superhero. So what they should have had is Aquaman should have like turned into a little spurt of water and then materialized as Aquaman on the other side of the room. Like that's how he should have traveled, just turned into water. Like a little puddle, and that would have been great. Anyway, is that all your nitpicks?
Yeah, that's all my nitpicks.
Okay, now we come on to my lit picks. And my first one, Luke, is that this film was 2 hours. Now, unfortunately, the audience is never going to be able to hear your reaction to that in the first case, because it was, of course, very funny. That would be one of my compliments. That is an intrinsically very funny thing, isn't it, Luke?
Yeah, it was funny because it's true. Like, we have just sat through a 3-hour Batman v Superman movie the other week, and the original Man of Steel was like 2.5 hours. So it was a welcome relief that this was a normal 2-hour movie, and it did make me laugh when you said that, man.
Yes, I know.
It's just a shame you can't replicate.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, we're just not very good actors. I think that's the problem.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, it's true, yeah. Now is the winter of our discontent.
I'll have you know, I performed in one of my friends. So my friend did like a media thing for A-level or whatever. I don't know exactly what it was, but I performed in one of his mini movies.
Really? Did you play a Scouser?
No, actually, I was a Scottish detective, I want to say.
Yes, that's a good accent, yeah. Oh, great, man. That's wonderful.
Thank you. So what's your other lit pick?
Looks like there's a problem here. I can't do Scottish is actually, I think, like I'm not good at any accent, but I think of all the accents in the world, the one I'm worse at is Scottish.
Do you bleed?
No. And then my other one is I really like the poster. I thought the poster looked neat. I saw it around and I thought, man, that's a neat poster.
Yeah. Can you save the world? Looks a lot like the Watchmen poster, doesn't it?
It looks a lot like the Watchmen poster.
Although so did the opening credits of this movie.
Yes, with the, of course, fantastic music that wasn't at all on the nose. It was, I mean, it was so subtle, just the song, and it was like, actually, you know what, Luke? Speaking of music, have you heard the Pitbull song for the Aquaman soundtrack?
No.
It's called Ocean to Ocean. And I'm going to read some of it. It's called Ocean to Ocean. And it uses a sample of, like, Koto's Africa.
What?
But it's like so... Oh, God, I mean, it's so awful. I mean, to be honest, I don't actually know how bad the lyrics are. Most of the problems are in the production, but... Okay. They tried to get rid of me, but from ocean to ocean...
No, I'm playing it now, Mike.
They're going to have to deal with me.
Like I said, I'm the living great Gatsby. When these boys are waxing quick and disappear like Banksy. From ocean to ocean, sea to sea, I'm something that you gotta see.
What the hell?
It's so bad. All right, that's enough. Luke, my ears are bleeding.
All right.
Also,
so
to be honest, I really don't know what happens with copyright on iTunes. I was actually thinking about that. I was expecting, like our little intro, with like it's. I mean, I think I've mentioned before that I basically just stole it from some dude.
Yeah.
But like the thing is, it's like I don't know. I was actually because what happened, I don't know if I told you this, but when I submitted our thing onto iTunes, it said like, "Oh, we're going to review it," and I was like, it's like check everything's okay, or I guess. And I was like, oh, maybe they're going to be like, hey, you can't use that that music, but they didn't, so that's good. So we'll just get sued later by some random guy on SoundCloud.
The music video I just played.
Yeah.
It has 1.8 million views, 11k likes, 70,000 dislikes.
I saw there was a really good comment. It was like the last time Africa was butchered this badly was in the Berlin Conference, which of course was for those who don't know, although you could just guess what it was, but it is the precursor to the Scramble for Africa, which was a great time when people just decided that they'd split up Africa.
Yeah. So the exact comment, Michael, I've got it here. The last time Africa was butchered this bad was the Berlin Conference of 1880.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. Anyway. So,
Toto, I don't feel so good.
Yes.
Oh, God. Anyway, what's your... oh, is that it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, there we go. We were talking about how awful the music was. And it was, yeah. It was just bad. Well, I don't think there was any other bad music. I think that was the only bad music. And then we move on to the plot.
Mm-hmm.
So
we do.
Here's my thing about the plot, Luke. It starts off worse. Like, it starts off real bad.
Yes.
Obviously, you start off, first of all, with Henry Cavill's mustache.
Mm-hmm.
And a rip-off from Spider-Man Homecoming. I can't remember if you've mentioned that in this version of the recording yet, but it's a rip-off from Spider-Man Homecoming.
I don't think I did.
So, yeah. And then, I can't remember the exact order that happens in, but then you get Batman accosts this guy in an alleyway, and it's so confusing because he's like, I'm going to make you scared. So this bug monster appears, and then I can interrogate the bug monster. I mean, I guess that's what we're supposed to pick up. But it's just so confusing. So you're like, what bug monster?
Yeah, why is this happening? Yeah. And then there's the Wonder Woman scene.
Yeah, the Wonder Woman scene with the terrorist, which is, I mean, just so... who? It's like, because you know how in The Dark Knight, the bank heist at the beginning is orchestrated by the Joker?
Yes.
It's kind of like if they did that, but it wasn't orchestrated by the Joker. And also, the other problem is that these two completely pointless action scenes, or pretty much pointless, near as damn it pointless, are setting up characters who we already know. Obviously, one of them is Batman. The other ones had their own solo film. If they would have done this for The Flash or Cyborg or Aquaman, had someone rob an underwater bank.
An aquabank, yeah.
Yeah.
A fish bank.
Do you think it would be funny if Aquaman lived in Atlantic City?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it'd be funny. It'd just be like
What if he lived in Atlantic City, but he vacationed in Atlanta?
Yeah. It's a good place to vacation, Atlanta.
I wonder why it's called the Atlantic Ocean. Oh, okay. No, actually, what I'm really wondering is, did the name Atlantis come first, or is it called Atlantis because it's in the Atlantic Ocean, or is it called the Atlantic Ocean because it is the hypothesized location of Atlantis? These are the questions we need answered. Both at the same time.
Yeah.
Do you know who came up with Atlantis? Like, who was the person who invented it?
You mean it's not real?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Luke.
Oh God.
And seeing as Christmas is coming up, I've got some terrible news about Santa Claus.
He's a racist?
Yeah, he's a racist. Do you remember that time when Megyn Kelly was talking about how and she was like, okay, if there are any kids watching, Santa Claus does exist and he is white. I saw something else that apparently Tucker Carlson, I guess you know him.
Yes, I know who Tucker Carlson is.
He had a woman on his thing, and they were complaining about the fact that people are using the gender-neutral term gingerbread person. And the quote from the woman was like, gingerbread cookies are men.
It was like, gingerbread cookies are obviously men. She said the word obviously. Come on, guys. There's clearly a penis there.
Oh dear,
God.
Goodness me, it's so funny.
Yeah. If it wasn't so depressing and 2 million people watch that show a night.
Yes, so basically what establishes gingerbread people are men, and Santa Claus is white, and Atlantis was actually invented by Mr. Plato.
Oh, was he?
He see, the thing is, like, there's this whole thing about how, like, obviously people like believe Atlantis is an actual thing. Like, in the Plato story, it's very clearly being used as like a hypothetical perfect society. And it's kind of like if somebody thought that Plato's cave actually existed. That's
Or
my
Hogwarts.
Yeah, or Hogwarts. Although Hogwarts isn't really supposed to be a hypothetical, like, perfect society, but
But you know what I mean.
I know what you mean, Luke. Yeah, so it would be like if someone said that Hogwarts existed.
Anyway, yeah, back to the actual movie.
Yeah, so the actual movie.
I can understand why that Batman thing was in, because it was kind of related to the plot. Like, he was looking for these bugs because apparently they were scouting the Earth. I don't know why they needed to do that, but whatever. But yeah, that Wonder Woman scene is just so bizarre. It has nothing to do with the plot. I guess maybe the only reason why it was in the movie is so you could get a nice upskirt shot of Wonder Woman. But
yeah, well, Luke, if he'd made that film after recent laws in the UK, then he'd be arrested for the crime of upskirting.
He would. Yeah.
Bloody feminazis, they're the real villains. Can't even take a picture of a woman without their consent.
I know, right? Yeah, so that's the opening. I think early on, this movie had the same problems as Batman v Superman. There was so much coming back and forth between all the storylines. I think after about half an hour, it kind of goes away. But initially, you had Batman, and then Batman and Aquaman, and Wonder Woman, and the Amazonians and Steppenwolf, which just completely comes out of nowhere in Themyscira. And then you have Cyborg, him being pissed off that he's a cyborg. Then you got the Flash.
I hate it. I'm a monster.
Yeah. By the way, like when Cyborg is speaking to his dad, and he's like, his dad says, "You're not a monster," and he goes, "Yeah, it's funny you thought you were talking about me."
That's such a
we're just fucking talking about you.
That's
fucking
such
idiot.
a dumb line. It's like, I mean, I hate to say it, Luke, but he's like a woman, isn't he? Always looking for a reason to complain.
Oh god. So yes. Then you have the Flash as well. Then you have Lois Lane and Martha talking about her selling her house, which is incredibly interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like so much stuff happening in the first 30 minutes. Thankfully, afterwards, it kind of just dies down, and it becomes a lot more simpler.
You know what?
Yeah.
On the subject of people talking about selling their house, I think it would be interesting to have like a superhero film that just starts off, especially in this like DC universe, where one of the big problems is that none of the characters feel like human beings. To have the film literally just start off with like the characters dealing with like boring people problems, like not necessarily, I mean, the whole film, but just like, Lois and Clark have got to move house, and they're like, oh, where are we going to live? And maybe that's how the film starts off. Maybe don't have Batman fighting giant bug monsters. Maybe just have it be like a little relatable thing. And obviously, I'd be interested. I go, oh, neat.
Yeah.
I'd say neat.
But they did have those problems in Batman v Superman. Remember when Superman couldn't find real eggs, so he had to cook some fake ones?
What?
Remember that?
Superman had to get fake legs.
No, eggs.
Oh, eggs. No, why am I saying?
Okay, so when there's a scene where Superman is shirtless.
Oh yeah.
And he's frying some eggs.
Oh
and
yeah.
The eggs are very obviously fake.
Yes, I get you. Yes, that's cute. But yeah,
That's
I
the
don't
issue.
know. Basically, you need that scene where Peter Parker decides to buckle down and start learning at school, and then he, starts answering all the questions, and they play that raindrops keep falling on my head. Perfect.
Yeah. So to clarify, I think after 30 minutes, this movie gets a lot simpler.
Yes.
It's in many ways it is quite the complete opposite to Batman v Superman. It's like
what, Luke, this is exact. Sorry, I think the audience needs to know this. This is exactly where I hit tab, the conversation cut off, and then when we started talking again, you were like, "Oh dear, we weren't recording."
Okay.
Yeah. So there we go. We're now up to speed, and you know what, Luke? We did that. How I think we did that quicker. We did it. Oh, actually, you know what? Actually, we almost took the exact same amount of time. I think that was because of all of my very, very useful, relevant asides.
Yeah, fucking talking about Atlantis and all that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why it took so long. But yeah. Anyway, back to the Justice League. So yeah. After the first half an hour, things get a lot simpler, and like I said, it's in many ways just the complete opposite of Batman v Superman, and obviously Warner Brothers took the criticism of Batman v Superman and were like, oh, okay, let's just do something completely different. Let's make a movie that's only 2 hours long instead of 2.5 hours and 3 hours for the extended cut. Let's not make it political at all. Let's just have it, a very simple, stereotypical villain in, what's he called?
Steppenwolf.
There you go. He's so boring, I forgot his name. We'll have a MacGuffin device that's a nice, safe thing, that can't do anything. You can't go wrong with a MacGuffin device. Try to make it similar to the first Avengers movie. There's terraforming, so he just wants to destroy the world, just like what Zod wanted to do in The Man of Steel. Let's just play it very safe, basically. And then all the critics will come and say, oh, look at that, it's completely different to Batman v Superman. Yes. And everyone will love it, and I'll make loads of money at the box office.
And that's what matters, Luke.
And that's what happened, of course, as well.
Yeah, exactly. They made millions. Well, they did make millions, so well done them.
They did make millions.
Can't argue against that. Can't argue with results, can you?
No, you can't. Basically, I mean, the thing is, like, it's different to Batman v Superman, but I think it's still around the same quality. Like, you can have a movie like The Dark Knight, say, which is a superhero movie, obviously, which is one of the best superhero movies ever made, which I think it's quite complicated. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of parts happening, a lot of characters. Maybe complicated is the wrong word, but it certainly isn't just simple. But that obviously is a great movie. And then you have like the original Spider-Man movie, or Spider-Man 2 even, and the Wonder Woman movie.
He wants to. I need to get some fusion, but you'll blow up the city, Dr. Octopus.
So it really doesn't matter. Like, if you want to make a complicated movie.
Yeah, why you gotta go and make things so complicated?
See the way you're
acting like you're somebody else.
Gets me frustrated.
Sexually frustrated.
Okay. That song was on FIFA 2003.
Wow.
So, yeah, I always love that song.
That's beautiful.
Just to let you know. Just, it's a song close to my heart.
I'm sorry for making fun of it when I said that it was a terrible song.
Did you say it was terrible?
Yeah, under my breath.
I
didn't hear it, Luke. But I said it.
It's a great song.
I said it.
Yeah, God. So, back to the Justice League. So yeah, it doesn't matter whether the movie is complex or whether the movie is simple. It's just got to be good.
Yeah, and you know what it reminds me of, Luke? After Deadpool came out, Mr. Josh Whedon himself, the man himself,
on this movie,
yes, said that it's important that the films don't learn, or studio executives don't learn the wrong lessons. Could you imagine that, Luke? Could you imagine studio executives learning the wrong lessons?
Perish the thought.
I know it's crazy to imagine they do that, but he was very concerned that they might just think, hey, if you make a film really violent and throw in a bunch of, mass humor, it will be good. And what we've learned after a long, hard session of thinking is that actually it's not the amount of violence or crass humor that makes something good, nor is it the complexity or the darkness or the humor or the politics. It's just not being crap.
Yeah, like, it's just things working out, things making sense, characters growing, just like standard stuff. There's not some secret to making a good movie. And I'm not sure if Warner Brothers were like, we want to make a good movie with this, or they were just like, we'll just play it safe. I don't know what their main motivation was. Obviously, you want to make a good movie, but were they just concentrating on, like, let's just keep it very, very simple? And that may have been a detriment, because I think the fact is Batman v Superman is a shit movie, and this is also a shit movie. But at least, like, people talked about Batman v Superman. When this movie came out, like, nobody cared, because it was a generic plot, a generic villain, and it was just like, it's just a superhero movie. And the thing, like, I don't think we talked about this, actually. We talked about this back in our original recording, or not non-recording, I guess, but this movie, this Justice League, it was meant to be, like, it's meant to be the equivalent of Avengers, obviously, for DC. And this movie only made $658 million. And just 5 months later, Infinity War, which obviously is in the Marvel Universe, made $2 billion, or over $2 billion. Like, this should have been the main movie. Just nobody gave a shit about it. And it is a testament to how bad this movie was and how the whole DC EU has been bad so far. And we'll talk about that later. But we can get into the plot more, basically, and what actually happens in this movie.
Yeah, well, once it obviously becomes more streamlined and more simple and good. I mean, it's basically, there's pretty much the whole thing is just trying to get everyone to come together. Because the thing is, Steppenwolf, he doesn't matter at all. He is just so boring and bland and shit and uninteresting. And pretty much,
terribly done.
yeah, and you don't. The film hardly even focuses on him. It's just like, oh, he's going to appear every. It's kind of like, like in some video games, you do something, and then at the end of like each level, the boss appears, and he's like the main villain, and he's like, oh, you're getting closer, but you'll never catch me, and then he disappears, and then you go through to the next mission. He appears again. He's like, I'll get you this time, and then he disappears, and then eventually you confront him at the end. That's basically what Steppenwolf is like in this film. He's not really relevant until suddenly he appears and like, oh, here I am. So pretty much the actual thrust of the film is them saying, let's put the Justice League together.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's fine. He definitely does kind of put the Justice League together.
Yeah, he does that. Yeah, I mean, again, like Steppenwolf. Like, okay, I've got some issues with Steppenwolf in general, Michael. I'll just go into them here. But I mean, his dialogue is just so awful. It's just stereotypical villain talk. Like, only I know the truth, or you're too weak for the truth. Like, blah blah blah, that kind of stuff. Which is basically like, I'm the bad guy, and I'm going to destroy you. I'm going to kill you, and I have power. Basically, all of that, and it's so uninteresting. Like that, I just. Did no one think when they were doing this movie, like, oh, maybe, I know that Lex Luthor didn't go down too well after Batman v Superman, and Jesse Eisenberg was criticised a lot. But did no one just be like, you know what, let's just give him a bit more character? Let's just give him a bit more depth, the Steppenwolf guy? Or do we want to make him like as bland and two-dimensional as possible? Or even one-dimensional, I don't know. Maybe two-dimensional is a compliment.
Yeah, I mean, it's... Basically, I honestly do think... that's the thing. It's hard to know if it was a tactical decision. If there was part of them that was like, okay, we want to have the character be simple so that we can have the story be about... Like, that just sounds way too smart for DC. Like the idea that there'd be any logic to it. But, yeah, I mean, it's just... It's an interesting... I guess in a way it's kind of good, because... Okay, here's the thing about this film. And this is, like, the essential problem with this film. This film feels to me a bit like what would happen if you learned how to make a film as you were going along. Like, because here's an example, okay, and I think it's an example that encapsulates it. So, Man of Steel was not a good film. Batman v Superman was not a good film.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder Woman was a pretty good film. I wouldn't say it was the best film ever made, but it was a pretty good film, especially compared to the other DC films.
Oh, definitely,
but Wonder Woman was almost kind of like, there's a reason we haven't reviewed Wonder Woman. And apart from the fact that it's because it's more entertaining to talk about bad films, but also because, it's not really a massive part of this arc. The real arc is Superman gets introduced, Batman v Superman, Justice League. That is your main arc. And, Wonder Woman, that's like a Star Wars anthology series.
Yeah, kind of like Suicide Squad as well.
Exactly, yeah. See, we're not mentioning Suicide Squad either. It's because they're both kind of almost side pieces. So if you look at those films, the first two films were not good, and they were not good in terms of characters. And this is, and that leads to the problem of, you've got all of these characters and you're kind of having to learn about them as you're going along. And the example of that, which I think kind of encapsulates, is Batman has a scene where he talks to Wonder Woman and he says, when are you going to start leading? When are you going to start taking control? When are you going to start fighting for something and stuff like that? And, like, first of all, that's not, like, a thing. Like, I don't associate that with Wonder Woman at all, like her not wanting to lead. And then at the end, there's a bit where she says, like, on my lead. And it's like the camera kind of zooms in as she says it. And it's like, obviously, it's a payoff to that line earlier where Batman's saying, when are you going to start taking the lead? When are you going to start leading people? And she's saying, on my lead. And it's like doing that. But the problem is, like, that's not an established thing with her character in the other films. So basically, they decided, I don't know who decided this, but they were like, okay, we've got to make this film, like, kind of good. So we'll give the characters, like, personality and conflict and things like that. But they've decided to give all of these characters personality and conflict and all of that stuff in the middle of a film that is all about them coming together. So it's like you're getting, okay, so, you're learning everything about Cyborg, all of the technical stuff, and you're learning about his personality. Meanwhile, he's being taken to the Justice League. You're learning about Aquaman and his character and what he does and what his powers are, and he's being recruited into Justice League. Basically, you're doing everything at once. So, in that sense, having the villain be completely, boring and uninteresting and not impacting the plot very much was almost a necessity. They literally made a film that didn't even have room for, basically this film almost didn't really have room for a plot. That's how, they were so focused on, we'll introduce this character and then he'll get recruited into the Justice League and then we'll have a fight. And it's like, hey, you didn't leave any room for an antagonist who is creating conflict and something for them to stop. It's like, okay, well, he's just trying to get these magical cubes and then at the end I'll stop them. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's the problem when you got to rush it. It's like, when I say rush it, I mean rush this universe. You're so keen to catch up to Marvel, you just skip a load of steps.
Exactly. Yeah. It's. I mean, that's the thing. And it's so strange. I've said this before, but it's so strange because they could make more money by having more films, and the only thing that they'd have to do is accept being behind Marvel, and that's it. But instead, they were like, no, we're going to make a whole load of bad films.
We're going to rush things. We're not going to think things through.
Yeah,
and then once we splurge everything out, then we'll do the Flash and Cyborg.
Yeah, because we're not Marvel fanboys, really, and
really,
and that's the thing. I could easily imagine a superhero series that I would have much more interest in than Marvel. And if DC was good, if they made good films, obviously maybe saying Christopher Nolan Batman level films or Dark Knight trilogy level films is a bit unrealistic, but even I was going to say Batman 89. Batman 89, I quite like it. I think basically they could have done something that would have made me more interested to see DC films than Marvel, and they didn't. They made it terrible, and that's the problem. So, Rotten Tomatoes.
I've got some problems with the actual plot here, Michael.
Yeah, okay, I want to hear. Yes, because I was struggling to discern the plot, so it was hard for me to have problems with it.
Yeah. So Steppenwolf. Okay. I think I've talked about him so much considering how bland he is.
Yes, exactly,
anyway.
Yeah. He's got more exposure in this review than he did in the actual film, basically.
It's true. Okay, so he tries to... Okay, so he's attacking Earth in the year of our Lord 2017.
Yes, of course.
Okay. So the idea is that Superman is gone, and so now the Earth is defenseless, as Steppenwolf alludes to. And I think even the
villain says... not the villain, the criminal who gets caught by... Batman is like, oh, are they gonna attack us now because the Superman's gone?
Yeah, and Cyborg also says, oh, the mother box, started to make... What did it start to do? It started to hyperdrive activate, Yeah, as soon as Superman died, which is weird. And this is why it's weird. It's because, it's undercut, this thing about, oh, Superman's gone, now Steppenwolf can come and attack the Earth. It's undercut by the fact that Superman's only been around for 5 years.
Exactly, yeah.
Steppenwolf was defeated 5,000 years ago. Unless it took him 5,000 years just not to get mad, because I think one of them says the defeat drove him mad.
Yeah.
And so now he's okay. He's been in counselling. He's ready to go again. I mean, that's the thing. It's that just doesn't make sense. If he came in say the year 2010. Oh, he would have been fine. But no, he had to wait until Superman came to Earth, and then Superman was defeated. And then he could come.
It is strange. I mean, that's the thing. Superman just is not that important in this universe, really.
Yeah.
Who cares?
And also, it seems remarkably easy as well for him to take these boxes, these all-powerful boxes that could destroy the world. Especially in Atlantis. He literally just shows up and just, punches a couple of, aqua people. Don't know what they're called. He punches Aquaman, punches a girl, an Aqua woman.
Ariel.
He punches Ariel.
He punches the lobster, it's under the sea.
Just smacks him.
Yeah, I like if he throws him into a boiling pot of water.
He does that, and he just takes a cube, and then he's up. It's that wasn't hard at all. And that's 1/3 of all the issues. Sorry, that's 1/3 of the device that will destroy the whole of the Earth. And it's quite simple. And also he tells his minions to collect the last box instead of just getting it himself. I don't know why. But so that's that's good old Steppenwolf.
Yeah, I mean, he's just... I want to see... Wait, I'll tell you what, while we're talking about Steppenwolf, I want to see if I had it. No, okay, yeah, I just wrote... All I wrote under Steppenwolf is he's just so pointless. And that's... Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like I say, it does come down to the fact that, fundamentally, this film is basically trying to do everything that Marvel Phase 1 did, and they're trying to do it all in one film.
Yeah.
So, at that point, it's okay, you can't really have... and that's the thing, I guess here's the problem, okay, Luke. you almost, apart from the fact that Batman died in Batman v Superman, which was a really tacked on thing in the first
Superman.
place. Sorry, yeah, Superman. I don't know why I'm so bad with the Batman and Superman and getting their
One's
names.
black, one's blue.
I know, exactly, yeah. But, so yeah, apart from the fact that Superman died in Batman v Superman, the last two films, or any of the other films, didn't need to happen. This could almost have been your first film, because almost all the characters are just being introduced, from the bottom. So basically, and that's the thing, like, you'd say, like, oh yeah, but Superman, he was really important, but he wasn't important. So that's the thing. Yeah, it's just silly. And
well, actually, I want to talk about the revival of Superman.
yes,
Of course, in this movie, Superman is brought back to life because he died at the end of Batman v Superman. I don't know why. Maybe this is a comic book thing, but I don't know why Superman doesn't remember who he is. Like,
yeah, I don't know. Have you ever seen the Christopher Reeve Superman film where he gets reincarnated? I think it's something to do with like what's the thing that he hates called? Kryptonite. Yeah, and basically it causes him like an evil version of himself to spawn, and he gets beaten in a like junkyard thing like
Junkyard,
that.
yeah. I've seen that. Yeah.
It's a classic.
So shit.
So basically, that's what happened. That's what they were inspired by, I assume.
The thing is, he remembers Batman saying to him, "Do you bleed?"
Yes.
So he remembers that, but he doesn't remember anything else about Martha or whatever. Okay, whatever. Also, like, you remember the Flash scene?
To be honest, Luke, I think we all tried to forget Martha.
Yeah, he did it as well. He was like, "Oh, you know what? If I was Batman, I'd be quite embarrassed at that."
Yeah, he'd be
So
like,
he just-
yeah.
You should have really just
He'd
killed
be
me,
like,
dude.
so why did you not kill me? He'd be like, because of some kind of moral conviction. Nothing to do with you just saying the name of some random woman, obviously.
Okay. Also, the Flash scene for Batman v Superman, Michael. Do you remember that?
Flash scene from Batman v Superman. Oh, yeah. When he goes back home, he says, Lois Lane is the key to this. Is that it? Is that what he says?
Yeah, Lois is the key. We need to get her working.
Yeah, exactly.
He says that. Like,
It's his line.
was that it? Like, that was why Lois is the key, because she's the one that can bring Superman back.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's not that an amazing idea. It's like, oh, Superman is bad now. How do we get him back to normal?
Love.
Oh no, let's go and find Lois Lane, the person who he loved when he was alive. It's like,
So
do
beautiful.
you really need the Flash going back in time and telling Batman that? Isn't that just like logical thinking?
Yeah, it's...
The thing is, it was going to be.
Yeah.
It was played as a big thing. Like, if you're having that just into your movie, like in the middle of nowhere, and it's just like, whoa, what's this? This has got to be important. And then that's it. It's just, oh, we just need Lois to like meet Superman. That's it. Whatever.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the Superman revival scene, okay, I got really pissed at this. Like, the third mother box, Michael. The third mother box. It lands on a car windshield, and none of them pay attention to it.
Yeah.
And also, the movie doesn't pay attention to it because literally Steppenwolf comes in and just like gets it.
Yes.
Just like yoink, like and takes it. It's literally
Like a
the
comedy.
biggest. Yeah, it's the biggest development in the plot so far, and like 5 seconds of attention is paid to it, all because none of the Justice League think to like retrieve it and they're following with Superman. But think about it, like that is the third mother box. That will complete the Trinity or whatever. That will allow him to terraform the Earth and destroy the world. And it's like, one of them's like, oh, he's got the third one now. It's like, what? Like, is that it? He's just got the third one? There you go. You think about how much time is given to the 2 other mother boxes. And for the final and most important one, Steppenwolf is just like, oh, I'll take this. Don't mind if I do. And it's like, yeah, that's it.
I guess the message is human beings are idiots and they can't be trusted to guard their mother boxes.
I couldn't believe it when it happened. I was literally like, I saw the mother box land on the car windshield. I was like, okay, they'll get that later. It's fine, because, it'll be a big thing once Steppenwolf comes in and takes it. But no, it's just like, he just gets it and then just goes. And, oh, now he's got the Trinity. Oh, well. So, the thing is, like, they didn't even have to revive Superman, because they had that box. So, again, it was a massive tactical error on their part as well. It's really, really not the best team. It's just a team.
It's lacking in
intelligence.
Yes, basically they're morons, which
They
is
are
a
morons.
shame. They could probably do well if they weren't morons, I think.
Yeah, they'd be better. So the final battle, Michael.
Yeah, well, actually, I wanted to talk about, just before the final battle, I wanted to talk about the midway battle. So it was when, basically, it was the scene where the Justice League without Superman were trying to go it alone, and it was the scene before Aquaman shows up in the sewer or something.
Oh yeah, in Gotham Harbor. Yeah.
And all I really wanted to say is that it was reasonably entertaining.
Yeah, it was decent. I like the line
Just
that
the
Batman
fact
said to the Flash.
You said save someone?
Yeah, just
that
save
what-
one person.
Yeah, I thought that was. I mean, we're gonna have to talk about the Flash later, but yeah, I quite enjoyed like the way it works, and also I enjoyed the fact that it was kind of like showing them fighting without Superman before they make the decision to obviously resurrect Superman. So it's kind of like showing this is one of the options, and or this is one of the ways it could be, but now they're going to actually resurrect Superman. It's going to be slightly better for them. So, and then of course that leads to the final action scene where they're doing it. I guess the one thing actually is that it's kind of redundant, the middle one, because they spend so long fighting without Superman anyway in the final action scene, but whatever. So, final action scene.
Yeah, and think about it, like they're fighting to stop Steppenwolf from getting the mother box, or he's taken some hostages, and then they just get it for him himself.
You know
and
what?
just leave
It's
it
very
outdoors.
similar to the classic in Batman v Superman, where Batman has a massive action scene to steal the kryptonite, and then he succeeds, and he fails, and then he later on steals the kryptonite off camera. Fantastic.
Yeah. It's just like, wait, we paid all this attention to this character, and he failed. Oh, and he's just taken it. Oh, we didn't get to see that. That's great. It's wonderful.
Beautiful.
So yeah, the final battle, Michael. There is so much CGI. Like, you think about it, in recent years there's been a lot of criticism aimed at movies for using too much CGI, particularly in relation to Star Wars.
Oh yeah, Star Wars too.
Yeah, and you think about how in The Force Awakens and indeed probably The Last Jedi as well, I can't remember too much CGI in that. There's a move for it to be like, hey, guess what? We are not going to make these into like CGI fest like the original. The
prequel trilogy. Yeah.
We're just going to, go back to basics, and it's going to look nice. It's going to look realistic, actual sets. But in this movie, and especially in the final battle, it seemed like Jesus Christ, like just the amount of CGI, it was just ridiculous. Like, and then the Earth was orange or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck am I watching here, man?
It was a weird decision because it's kind of like, I mean, maybe they couldn't film it in a real location because then Superman would have to murder them all.
Oh god, yeah. The thing is, like, it's a apart from just the CGI, just the action, like it's a typical finale. The bad guy loses when the good guys team up and defeat him. I do like it when Superman comes in and just like dominates. Cause it's like,
yeah, I enjoyed that too. I thought it was like kind of, I mean, that's sort of why I was saying that the middle scene was clever because it establishes the need for Superman.
Exactly, like
Superman sometimes seems kind of pointless.
Yeah, he seems overpowered, but it's nice to see him be overpowered.
Yes.
Yeah, because then it's like, I guess not realistic because obviously he doesn't exist, but it's like if Superman did exist, this is probably how he'd deal with Steppenwolf because he's just so incredibly powerful in every single way. He's got fucking laser beams shooting out of his eyes, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Yeah. Apart from that, there's not anything too much special about the final battle.
I wanted to say actually, so this might be due to bad memory, but I want to say that based on the action alone, this is going to be the biggest compliment I pay this film. Based on the action alone, I think that action scene possibly rivaled Avengers action scenes on one basis, which is it had the characters, and this is because here's the thing. Okay, I was talking. I can't remember what it was. I think when we were doing Batman v Superman, I was saying how one of the things that makes a film interesting is if you have the different characters with their different abilities, using them in dynamic and interesting ways. And I thought there was quite a lot of that in the final action scene with Batman obviously using his gadgets, the Flash using his ability to run really fast, Wonder Woman using her sword, and Cyborg using his electronic. And like I was fond of that, and I felt like based on those action scenes and the way that they did show the characters kind of working together, I was quite fond of that, and I thought, yeah, this isn't bad at all. Apart from the thing is, like, it wasn't bad at all, apart from the fact that, number one, I wasn't that invested on a story level, number two, it all looked really fake, and number three, you know what, actually, maybe there isn't a number three, so there we go. Only two things wrong with it, so, yeah.
But yeah, just like, I don't know why they decided to use so much CGI, it's just bad in my opinion. I don't know, man. The amount of criticism CGI's got, and then to just go and do that, just like, wow.
Yes.
Wow. Anyway, let's talk about tone.
Yes, I'm excited for this, Luke.
So, the film's tone, and this is off Wikipedia, was met with a polarised reception, with some appreciating the lighter tone compared to the previous DCEU films, and others finding it inconsistent. It's not dour and dark, like Batman v Superman, obviously, and that's probably because of the Joss Whedon influence. It's not political either, it's just a standard superhero movie, it doesn't try to get into philosophical conversations about good and evil, with Jesse Eisenberg talking to fucking Holly Hunter. There's none of that kind of thing in this movie. It's like, it's so different to Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
But it's like, I guess it was a good tone. Like, I didn't have any issues with it. I was like, when I was watching this, I was like, this is kind of the right balance. I think this is what superhero films should be like.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I mean, I'm trying to think if there was anything that made me not like it. Let me scan my... No, I mean, I think, yeah, the tone was pretty much good. Yeah, I mean, obviously the thing is, like, there's generally speaking never such a thing as a bad tone. I think pretty much any tone can work if the story kind of like works with that tone. So, but in this case, I actually think, the tone was pretty good. I think the tone worked with the story. And I guess...
Because you have a dark romantic comedy, though.
Well, I mean, I guess that's it's like 50 Shades of Grey. I don't know. Not really, yeah, it is when you've got your brain turned on. But I think there's one thing I did want to say, and it comes down to something else which we'll probably talk about relatively soon, which is the fact that a lot of the stuff that made the film appear more lighthearted felt somewhat out of place. Like there's sometimes some lines where people look very serious, and then suddenly it's just a random insert scene of somebody going, "Well, I guess this is going to be a problem." Wah, 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 wah. And there's a bit where
who did an impression of that?
No one, to be honest. But okay, so like there's a bit where Batman was like, "Oh, definitely something bleeding," and then it cuts to everyone else's face, and it just looks so like distressed.
Yeah.
And it's like, this isn't the time, Batman. And it's like, I mean, like some of the Flash's scenes felt organic, but some of the other scenes, it was like everyone again looked really serious, and the Flash just had a little line like, "Oh, I guess I've got some low blood sugar. Need to go have a pizza or something." And everyone's like, "Steppenwolf will kill us all." So like, some of the scenes felt like as if they'd just been spliced in there, as if there was some kind of reshoots going on.
Okay, Michael. Well, you know what? Let's just talk about that then. So
are you saying that they should release the Snyder Cut?
Yeah. Okay, so the Snyder Cut thing, like, it's just the most hilarious thing ever. Like, it sums up DC fans in a nutshell. Like, they're trying to convince themselves so much that these DC movies are good movies. Because of, like, obviously the DC fans, and they see the success that Marvel's had, and they're like, no, these are good as well. These are good guys. Like, oh, Batman vs Superman is bad. Oh, just wait until the Snyder Cut comes out. Oh, see, now that fixes all the issues that Batman vs Superman has, and it's a great movie, 10 out of 10. And like,
it was a very great movie, wasn't it?
It was. It was like they saw this movie come out, they saw the negative reaction, and they were like, "Oh, this isn't that good actually. Release the Snyder Cut. Let's do it again." And then there's not actually a Snyder Cut. It's just hilarious. They're trying to get a movie released that doesn't actually exist, because the movie that DC
what it reminds me of,
isn't
Luke?
good.
It reminds me of Brexit, because there's all these people saying like the only reason Brexit is failing is because of the Ramonas, and it's kind of like it's basically that's what DC fans like about Zack Snyder, because basically you have Zack Snyder makes a series of terrible decisions which DC fans inexplicably like, and then eventually he because of that his powers get reined in a bit, and then the DC fans turn around and complain that the reason why that film wasn't very good is because his powers were reined in. So basically, Brexiters are like, "Oh yeah, we want to make this terrible decision," and then everything's going wrong. The pound drops. Companies are saying like, "We're going to move away." All of this stuff. None of the Parliament will pass it, and they're like, "It's bloody Ramonas. They ruined everything."
Yeah, it's like they're just so committed to their idea. They're like attached to it, like in an unhealthy way. It is literally like a cult.
Yes. The funny thing is, I'm not sure which group you're talking about right now, but yeah, either way, I agree.
I'm talking about both.
Yeah, there we go. Yes.
Yeah, talking about both. Like, that's the thing. When somebody, like, that's the thing. What do we say these DC fans are? They're fans. They're fanatical, and that is exactly what Brexit voters are like about Brexit. Like, they're just fanatical about it.
Yeah,
They're fans.
Brexit means Brexit.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to see a red, white, and blue Justice League.
Oh my god, when she said that to Theresa May, Christ. Apparently this may not have been true, but apparently she said to one of the EU leaders when she went to visit Brussels like a week ago that she said to them, Brexit means Brexit. She actually said that to them.
Yeah, I know. I think she thinks it's like this really cool thing.
Oh god, yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So that explains all of that.
Yeah, basically DC fans are awful, and
awful human beings.
They are awful human beings. They've really embarrassed themselves really over the last few years. Like, everyone kept saying, it's the same with Brexit. Again, that's what I thought of immediately. Same with Brexit. Like, everyone kept saying, no, these movies are bad. These movies are bad, and they kept going like, no, they're not bad. They're really good. And yet, Superman, because of Batman v Superman, and also the Justice League, Warner Brothers have decided to reset their superhero division because the movies are so bad. It's just the same as Brexit. Like,
yeah, Amber Rudd came out and backed the people's vote.
Yeah, which I'm not surprised at.
Did you see the really funny hot take where somebody said like people are like threatening to riot over if there's like a people's vote on Brexit, and someone was like, this is like we're the only country that would threaten to riot because we're being given too much democracy.
I know. It's like, the thing is like, okay, we now know what Brexit may look like.
Yeah, Brexit looks like Brexit, Luke.
It's Brexit. Brexit looks like Brexit. I'll never forget, Michael. I mean, we've gone off topic here, but I'll never forget. Like, there was just great comment on The Guardian, which I saw
really, Luke? Do you read The Guardian? Stop the presses.
I got a comment on The Guardian website, Michael.
Yes.
I don't buy the actual paper. Come on. Now.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So it was like.
Yeah, you've got Radio 4 for that.
Oh yeah, definitely. So there was this comment that was like, what did people actually vote for with Brexit? And it was like just a list of like 20 things which could happen differently. It went from like the Norway option, hard Brexit, soft Brexit, or do we want to stay in the customs union? Leave the customs union. Do we want to stay in the single market? Leave the single market. Blah, blah, blah. Do we want a hard border with Ireland, or do we want no hard border with Northern Ireland?
Yeah.
And it was all of this stuff which hadn't like needed to be considered. Like, and his point was, what did people actually vote for? Like, people didn't know what they were voting for, and the comment underneath it was just like, oh god, it was awful. It was awful. It was like, it's simple, mate. We voted to leave the EU.
It's so like. I'll tell you what annoys me: the people who say that there should be a people's vote, but Remain shouldn't be on there, because they're saying, well, we already voted to leave. But the thing is, like, people voted to leave based on a specific idea of what leave is, and if it turns out anyway, okay, yeah. So Batman v Superman.
Well, basically, yeah, DC fans. Well, the point I was going to make is, like, obviously DC fans have now been exposed by, I guess, reality. Like, they can't. It's exactly the same thing with like Trump and Trump supporters, like saying, oh, what Michael Flynn did and what Michael Cohen did, and it's not a crime, and they've been sentenced to jail. Like, they're going to jail for something that apparently is a crime. It's like they're trying to battle against reality. It's just absolutely crazy. And it's the same with these DC fans. And it's over for them now, because, I mean, I guess it's a good time to jump onto the DC EU and talk about that in general. What do you think?
Let's talk about the DC EU. I'm going to look through just to make sure. Okay, yeah. The DC EU.
So the thing is, I'll just start if you
Yes, that's good, because I actually don't have anything written for it.
All right.
Even though I said I'd go check. I was actually just looking to see if I had anything else written for anything else. But,
all right. Good. The thing is, I think I alluded to this before, but Batman v Superman, there's a lot of discussion around it. And although it's probably the same standard of movie, so it's like, oh, it's this got 40% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Justice League and Batman v Superman 27%, so Batman v Superman rated slightly less. But there was so much talk about it because it was such an interesting movie, and this wasn't. It was just boring. It was just nothing there. And basically, with the loss, only 600 million in the box office, and the overall loss it made, like, it just means that now the DCEU is just irrelevant. Like, just nobody cared about this movie when it came out. It came out in November 2017. Just nobody gave a shit. Like, I didn't remember any talk about it at all. Like, it was just over a year ago. And I think, basically, there's been 5 movies made in the DCEU. Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad. Those first 3, bad.
Yes.
Wonder Woman, oh, it's good. Or maybe there's some hope. Justice League, bad. So 4 out of the 5 movies are bad. And I think, and obviously the superhero division went into reset with Warner Brothers, like I said. And so this would be my idea, because it's just been a complete disaster, this whole DCE. Like, what I would have done when I saw what a failure Justice League was. I would have released Aquaman as soon as possible, just get it out. Then I would have just cancelled the DCEU. I just said, that's it. That's it. It's over. None of these characters, well, characters were returning, but none of the actors are returning. I think Ben Affleck said he didn't want to do it anymore. Henry Cavill doesn't want to do it anymore. And it's like, yeah, okay, that's it. We're done. We're resetting it. We'll start again. This is my idea. Start again with a solo Batman movie, because there wasn't actually a solo Batman movie in this DCEU. Started there in 2020. Like, maybe release it at Christmas time. I think that would be a good idea. Yeah, because it's just been a failure, and we'll just go at it again. Because what's to stop them from just resetting and going again? There's nothing stopping them. They can just like have another go.
I think it's pride. I think that's kind of the problem. I think
it's they reset it.
Yes. Yeah, I know. Yeah, now they've reset it. Yeah.
Yeah, like no more, not another Suicide Squad movie. There's another, obviously, a Shazam movie coming out in March, which is in this universe. Like, there's not another Joker movie starring Jared Leto. Just like, no, end it. Let's just move on. Yeah. Let's just cut our losses and just start again, because this has been a colossal failure. And the thing is, there's no, apart from your pride, there's no real, issue with just starting again and starting afresh. So what do you think about that?
Well, yeah, basically. I mean, here's the thing, Luke. So as you know, I'm a massive fan of thinking tirelessly about how I change certain films, and I could talk for hours about the hypothetical DC film that or DC film series that I will one day make when I become a studio executive at Warner Brothers. However, I think to put things really simply, number one, yes, they should restart. I have a few things, just very small things, which I think should have been obvious. I mean, number one is have more introductions. Now, the second thing I think they should have done is use Superman's death. Because here's the big problem I find with these expanded superhero universes. You immediately have the question of, why would these superheroes not be intervening with each other's affairs? Why would Aquaman be doing his thing and Superman wouldn't get involved? Or why would Batman be doing... For example, the Dark Knight trilogy could not happen in a DC expanded universe, because Superman would just show up and be like, all right, Bane, I don't want to crush you, so how about you just stand down? And Bane would be like, and Superman's like, what? So you're like, mate, I got super hearing, and I can't tell what you're saying. And people are like, Superman, why do you sound like some kind of roadman?
Him.
Yeah. I don't want to say that about me.
Very harsh.
And
I have feelings too.
Heath Ledger would be like, hey, it's the jokester.
What the fuck?
And it would be like, why are you called the jokester? Anyway, so that's what they should have done. But here's the thing, okay? They should have had Superman dies, okay? And, well, first of all, they should have had, I'd say possibly even, I spoke a bit about Superman, how they should have had 2 Superman films when we're talking about Man of Steel. They should have had one setting him up, and then another one with Zod, where he decides that he wants to be like a hero. Then after that, as far as I'm concerned, he could die. And with Superman dead, you now have an opportunity to have Wonder Woman and Aquaman, all that stuff, come into their own over several successive stories, because, Superman's not here, so actually it kind of makes sense, because, you could have a Batman solo film and not have to be asking yourself, hey, why isn't Superman just showing up? Because Superman's dead. And also, that would mean that you're actually missing Superman. So when Superman does show up, it's like after several films of him. So I think they should have used Superman's death a bit more. And then obviously, I think the other thing would be basically, I don't think they should have started the Justice League about Superman. I think what should have happened is that Superman should have come back at some point, and there should have been a villain who was too hard for Superman to take out alone. And that's why they had to form the Justice League. Because the problem with this film is that the Justice League, which is a really important thing in the DC universe, obviously, is basically just an attempt to accommodate for the fact that Superman isn't there.
Yes.
And once Superman is there, it's a bit like, okay, sorted.
Yeah,
so like they should have made it so. And here's the thing: so one of the characters who's mentioned just gives, I don't know, they mention him is Darkseid. Steppenwolf said, "Oh, if I get the Hypercube together, if I get the Tesseract together, I'll be able to unleash Darkseid." And my ears pricked up when I heard that, because Darkseid is the most powerful villain in the DC universe. Mm-hmm. He's like the Thanos of the DC universe.
Yes.
And
by the way, just to let you know, that's so insulting to DC to compare him to Thanos. Just shows how much more popular.
I know, yeah.
It's like he's the Thanos. Oh, now I get it.
Yeah, exactly. It's poor DC. But anyway, yeah. So basically, you could have, Darkseid shows up. He's too powerful. Superman can't fight him. And then Batman's like, I've got a plan. let's assemble the Justice League, and then that's your fight, and it's like, okay, this is good. But yeah, obviously, in summary, I think they should restart this. I want to say one other thing. This isn't about DC, but this is actually something I was thinking about as you were talking. The fact that the DC cinematic universe has failed so unequivocally at this point is, I think, a very important moment in cinema history, because ever since these big franchises popped up, there's been this idea that they're kind of like invincible, especially with major franchises. And the thing is, you have to look at the fact that Star Wars, by some people's accounts, including mine, have released 4 films. I mean, so I'd say, for example, that
some are worse.
So Solo and The Last Jedi are bad. Rogue One is pretty bad. The Force Awakens is probably the best, and that's literally just because it takes the fewest risks. It basically just tries. So the Force Awakens is literally just competent. So, and I think like there's this idea you hear people saying of like, oh, Star Wars is invincible. No matter what, they're going to keep making these films. So if you look at the fact that DC has, and again, obviously the Star Wars films are not as bad as the DC films, but I don't even think the worst Star Wars film is as bad as the average DC film. I think probably the worst Star Wars film is worse than Wonder Woman, but anyway. So the thing is, like, I think it's kind of interesting because maybe these franchises aren't so invincible, and maybe that's a good thing. I hope maybe somewhere out there's somebody who's planning on making a crappy film based on a franchise, and they've thought to themselves, hey, maybe we should make this good, because we don't want to have another DC on our hands.
Or another Dark Universe on our hands.
Oh, yeah, so that's the thing, like, the Dark Universe obviously failed, but that was, I think, like, a lot of these ones have been dead on arrival.
Wait, who's behind the Dark Universe game? Which company?
So, Universal.
It wasn't Warner Brothers.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I don't think so, so, you know what?
It would be hilarious if it was.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to look, okay, so Warner Brothers, they have done the, actually, you know what the Warner Brothers have done, though? Can you name the other, seemingly, like, expanded universe that might flop for Warner Brothers? You know what it is? I know what it. I'll give you a clue. You'll probably get it off this maybe, but we reviewed it a film for it quite recently.
We reviewed a film for it quite recently.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm gonna go. Okay, so do. Yeah, basically they're doing the Fantastic Beasts thing, and obviously The Crimes of Grindelwald was not very well received, and there's been speculation. Admittedly, I think literally just speculation from film reviewers, but people are throwing around the idea of, hey, maybe the Warner Brothers will literally just, drop the Fantastic Beasts films.
Maybe Warner Brothers will just dissolve.
Yeah.
Just give it up.
Maybe Warner Brothers will get bought by Disney. Oh, great. It's only going to get worse.
If that actually happened, like, those movies, Superman, Batman, fucking Iron Man, Spider-Man, all in the same movie, Michael. Think of the box office.
Oh, God. I mean, it's just... And, like, that's the thing. I think I'm happier knowing that Warner Brothers are going to go back to the drawing board than the prospect of Disney just coming in there and making, like... Because at least, I mean, like, the good thing is that you can ignore these terrible, terrible DC films and just hope that one day they'll make a good one. If Disney got them, they turn them into very commercially successful, but kind of not that groundbreaking films. I mean, maybe they do a good job, but anyway. Yeah,
maybe. But basically, the point you're trying to make, Michael, I think is a very good one. That it's good that these things just aren't automatically a success and you actually have to work for it and deliver good movies. Because obviously the fear is people can just, like DC, they can just keep pumping out crap like Batman v Superman, Man of Steel, Suicide Squad, and people will just keep going. But thank God Justice League failed, really, because it was like, oh no, you actually have to make them good. And it just really goes to show how good Marvel were. Like, it just gives another appreciation for how well the Marvel Cinematic Universe was doing, because obviously many people thought it was a bad idea to do it at the time. It was too ambitious, but it delivered a lot of good movies then, and obviously the success they've had after that is tremendous. And so DC probably thought, well, you know what, can't be too hard. We'll do it. But it's proven, their failure has proven that, yeah, it is hard.
DC is like, there's a really famous gif of this guy, a street performer, is like doing a little street performer dance. And then just, there's this guy who's standing on the sidelines, and he decides to do a backflip, kind of upstage the street performer.
Yeah.
And he might be dead. Basically, he does the backflip, and he just lands right on his head. And it's just, it's the funniest thing, Luke. I mean, you know what? I'm probably going to get up and send it to you. Yeah, basically, so DC is like, so Marvel is the street performer. Marvel's like, yeah, and the DC is this, random guy standing on the sidelines. Like, oh, that looks fucking easy. He goes in and lands straight on his head.
Oh, God.
But yeah, do you want to say anything else? Because I think we've probably spoken about that for a bit.
Yeah, well, no, I just want to say, actually, James Berardinelli, I think sums it up quite well. And I'm just going to read that out to you right now.
Yes, I'm ready for
if
this.
that's okay. When Marvel mapped out the trajectory for their cinematic universe, they were sometimes criticized for overthinking and overplanning. Nearly every major hero, Iron Man, Hulk, Captain America, Thor, had his own movie. Many of the secondary characters, including the villain, boasted significant screen time in one or more of the first 5 films. Only once all these things had been accomplished were the characters brought together for the Avengers. The formula worked. The Avengers was pot complex, a superhero nirvana. DC came late to the party, riding the critical and popular success of Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy and smarting from the disappointing performance of Bryan Singer's Superman Returns. They dithered and dallied and didn't just begin planning out post-Dark Knight campaign until MCU movie count was past half a dozen and rising. The late start resulted in a rushed and ununified approach. Justice League arrives with 3 major characters who haven't previously been introduced. As a result, this film has a lot of heavy background lifting to do. Too much, in fact, for it to be able to tell a worthwhile story. 70% of the movie is set up future tales. The rest is an overlong smackdown between our heroes and possibly the worst villain ever to appear in a comic book picture. So, there you go.
Yeah, wow. I mean,
Sums it up.
I actually do want to talk about the characters a bit.
Oh, yes.
We've kind of done it in a weird order, but yeah. And I think that's all we have to talk about after that, so great.
Yeah, great.
So,
Batman.
I was going to start with Superman, but fine. Batman. Let's do Batman. I didn't really have anything. Oh, well, actually, I wanted to say one thing about Batman. He doesn't murder anyone in this film. But having said that, he doesn't really have anyone to murder. So
No, he has that guy murder at the start, remember?
Oh, yeah, that's true. But he wasn't, I guess. I think, like, what would have been funny is if he literally, because he didn't have any reason to murder that guy, so it would have been funny if he did just, the guy was like, they're afraid, they're coming now because Superman's not here, blah, blah, blah. And then Batman just turns around and shoots him. Just executes him for no reason.
Thank you for reminding me that you're still alive. Shoots him.
Yeah.
But
he just says, I believe you.
So, Batman. Bruce Wayne looks really old. Or should I say Ben Affleck looks really old. I think that's more accurate.
It's like kind of a good...
He's past it.
I like the whole, he's getting too old for this shit thing, because it's like...
Yeah, but he actually does. That's the thing. Like, Ben Affleck is actually too old. Like, he's almost 50.
Yeah.
The guy, he can't play Batman anymore. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think they need, like, 40-year-old Batman. I mean, the thing is, Batman's kind of old anyway. He's a bit of a daddy, isn't he?
No, make him, like, 32.
He should be called Bat Daddy. Yeah, well, the thing is, I don't know. I guess it depends, because I kind of am into the whole idea of Batman being a bit older in the Justice League. I don't know why. I think, here's the reason why, okay? I actually do have a reason for it, Luke. Because I think, basically, you need to have Batman to have an implied history of crime fighting. And if Batman's like 32, the problem is that means, taking into account the fact that he's been doing all of this ninja training, all of this stuff, he probably only really started fighting in his early 20s at the earliest. So basically, like, you've got to have this like dark history of him fighting. And if he was fighting when Superman was around, then I think that's a bit of a problem. So I think basically he needs to be, I'd say late 30s, but I think, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, basically, I think he should look like one of those really old wrestlers. He should be like Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
I wonder how old Hulk Hogan is. But I just think because then it's like he's got an implied history of fighting. The other thing I wanted to say about Batman is a lot of people were annoyed at the fact that Batman said that his power was being rich. To be honest, I think that's like, I mean, it's a bit of a, Hulk Hogan is 65. There we go. That's how old Batman should be.
And racist as well.
But yeah, also, didn't he, like, have some weird thing going on with his daughter?
What do you mean by that?
I don't know, like, so I don't think it was like literal incest, but I felt like there's a whole thing where it was like a bit creepy around his daughter, like a real Donald Trump.
A real Trump, eh?
Yeah, if she wasn't his daughter, he'd date her. So basically, like a lot of people are like, oh yeah, they're saying Batman's only power is he's rich, when really Batman's so much more than that. In this film, Batman's really not that much more than that.
No.
I mean, he doesn't do that much. I like the thing. Yeah, the idea of Batman is kind of good because it's like you've got all of these superhuman people, and it's kind of like a bit of an ego project for humanity. The idea that a human being could compete. So it's like, oh, there's a human being who can compete, and he can compete because human beings, they work hard, blah blah blah, or whatever else. And that's kind of like a nice idea, and I kind of like that idea. So I think basically, if you're making a Justice League film, your number one priority. Did you watch the video I sent you?
No, I didn't.
Okay, well, your number one priority needs to be making sure Batman doesn't feel pointless, because that's probably the easiest thing to happen.
It happened at the end of Batman v Superman.
And that's the number one thing it's the number one thing that needs to not happen, because the whole thing is Batman. It needs to show like, hey, these guys are all superhumans, but Batman, he's a hard worker. He's somebody who's got the spirit of humanity in him. He's gonna do it. So basically, I think Batman, all things told, he was pretty good in this film, in that he did do like some stuff, and he was a bit of a man with a plan, which does work. But
you said you had nothing to talk about with Batman, and you're just gonna launch the love over your Batman.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, like, I actually write a surprisingly small amount during these things, and they just come up a bit right off the top of my head. That's why it's also worthless.
Okay, Superman. You want to talk about him?
Yeah, okay, so I basically have two things to say about Superman. Number one, it's both to do with the way they try and humanize him. So the whole scene at the beginning where they were trying to humanize him, it just felt like basically for Batman v Superman and Justice League, they've now established this precedent of having the opening scene be a direct response to criticisms of previous films. So obviously Batman v Superman has Clark Kent, finds out the whole thing's been destroyed, and that's a response to obviously the destruction of Metropolis.
Mm-hmm.
And then in this film, it's like everyone was complaining that Superman was, a dark, gritty weirdo who was kind of hard to relate to as a human being.
Yeah.
So they're like, hey, let's have him, interact with some kids, fun conversation with some kids. And then the other one, and this is the only moment during the film where I burst out laughing. Superman hears some civilians screaming. The random Russian family.
Oh, yeah.
Literally, we should talk about them and just say they didn't need to be in it at all.
No, they did not.
Random Russian family. His super hearing, he hears this Russian family, he says, civilians. And he flies off. And I was just thinking, it's so funny, the idea that Superman cares about civilians. And in my head, I was imagining, he goes, civilians. And then it cuts to him flying through their house. Civilians.
I can use them as a weapon.
Yeah, he picks one of them up. Smash. It's a classic Rich Havenstoke.
Oh, good. Yeah. So
I was just laughing, just imagining that idea. Good. Anyway, anything you wanted to say about Superman?
Nope.
So.
Oh yeah, when he says yes, ma'am to Lois, that is so creepy. Remember that?
Yeah. Remember when she says yes, daddy to him?
I don't.
Me neither.
Okay. Wonder Woman.
Well, okay. I mean, she's fine. I guess. I think she's kind of like weirdly pointless in this film, or like she doesn't. I guess, okay, so here's the two things I'm thinking of. Number one, there was the whole thing I was talking about of like, you need to be a leader, Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
I don't think that
she's the one that gives to Batman, doesn't she?
Yeah, that's the weird thing. They kind of have like a weird, like, cute moment. I don't want to.
She
one
tries
of the
to
things
recruit Cyborg as well. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I was going to say she has like a moment with Batman where she's kind of being cute with him. Like, he's, I don't know, she's just saying like, oh, it's sad, something sad, you're stressed or something. I can't remember the scene at all, but basically she's kind of confiding in or Batman's confiding in her, and I thought that was kind of neat. Like, I like the idea of having said that, obviously it's a bit gendery, isn't it, for the only woman to be the character who's like the emotional support.
Well, speaking about gendery, how about that short revealing costume that she was wearing, which was a bit different to the one she wore in her own standalone movie, and obviously, I mentioned, the angles which she was shot from. There was this, obviously, we talked about the upskirt shot before. There was this one shot where literally, like, it was just like her butt had just literally covered half the screen, like it was a close up. It was like, Jesus, like, no, you're not really, I can tell what you're going for here, Zack Snyder.
Yeah, going for that pussy.
Do you remember the shot?
Yeah,
it was when they were on the getting out of an airplane or something. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's just kind of mental because, like, I guess it's so that the fanboys can go, well, actually, that's the sacred armor of the Amazonians that was made up by some man.
Yeah,
like that's the thing. Like basically, it's like they don't really understand that these characters aren't human beings, because whenever they have a conversation about like the idea that a woman's dress and these things might be kind of hypersexualized, they'll be like, well, that's what she's choosing to wear. But that's not. She's not choosing to wear anything. She's a fictional character. So I don't know. It's just weird. Yeah. Basically, she didn't need to be so over-sexualized. Although she is pretty pretty. So pretty attractive. So maybe she was asking for it.
Yeah, but she does want Palestine to be eradicated there. So you've got to take that into consideration. That just does remove her hotness.
It's kind of like a peak, what's the term? Peak, like liberal equality, liberal conception of equality, where people were saying, like, like that half those people should be women.
Yeah.
Peak that when everyone was saying like how empowering it was because Gal Gadot is a former member of the IDF. Now saying like, yeah, she was actually fighting. It's like, yeah, but, I mean, fighting who? Like,
shooting innocent Palestinians.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How brave.
Maybe it should have been Superman goes off, like civilians, flies through the Russian thing, and then Wonder Woman's like, I hear them too, goes and blows up a Palestinian kid. I think that would have been...
He was asking for it. Huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Just self-defense.
All told...
Cyborg now, Michael.
Yes. So Cyborg is kind of... Cyborg, more than anyone, I think, should have had his own standalone film.
Yes. Cyborg's story to me... Sorry, just to cut in, Michael.
Oh, no, yeah, that's fine, yeah.
It's so interesting. Like, the guy was a star football player. And I think that's a really interesting, thing. If you're,
because most comic book fans are nerds. So that's probably... So to be honest, when you break it down, most comic book fans are, number one, nerds, and number two, slightly racist. So probably why they didn't have it. They were like, ugh, what's this thug doing in here? I bet he steals all of the nice girls.
Yes. Well, he's a quarterback for Gotham City or whatever. So then that would be really interesting to see some football plays and the story of him. And then all of a sudden his hopes and dreams are dashed in an accident.
Yeah.
And then he'd
exactly.
Yeah, it would have been really interesting. And I like the actor as well. I think he gave a good performance.
I like the actor too.
Yeah, it was I'll get his name up so I won't be disrespectful to him.
Yeah,
because
I couldn't really remember his name, to be honest.
I'll get it up here. I believe it is Ray Fisher. Yes, it is. It's Ray Fisher. So yeah, the thing is about him, he's a very quarterback-esque, and he's pretty calm, he's pretty cool, he's pretty nonchalant, and that is what most quarterbacks are like, as in terms of personality-wise, because that's kind of just how you have to be to play at that position in football. So yeah, I thought, this is a very realistic character. In terms of his personality, and I was like, yeah, I'd love to see a standalone movie with him. I think it'd be really interesting, a superhero origin story based on some guy who's a star athlete. It'd be great. So
yeah, and the other thing is obviously you've touched on his backstory. I think the other thing is the mechanics of exactly who he is and why he is who he is a bit confusing. In terms of so obviously he seems to have been made out of the cube, or there's some complicated thing going on with so I think I pretty much understood it, but I was just okay, this is a bit confusing because he's got all of these weird connections going on. I'm not really about that, so so basically they could have explained the science behind him and also his personality and also his backstory, and that would have been good.
Yes. So got anything to say on the Flash, and then I think we're done.
I do have I think the Flash is kind of important.
Okay.
Because the Flash represents a very important thing with this film, which is the jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Some people do not like the Flash in this film. I know that. Some people think he is a bit annoying.
Is it DC fans who are we pretended to like the serious movies in Batman v Superman and Man of Steel, so the fact that Flash is in here making funny jokes, now we have to dislike him because we have to be consistent?
I think some people probably do genuinely find him annoying,
right.
And I think it's about 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Mm-hmm.
But for my part, I would say I found him about 10% annoying, 90% pretty entertaining.
Yeah, I agree.
There were a few moments, so I think there are other people who find him 90% annoying, 10% entertaining. So I think it was pretty cool. Although there were a few moments where I felt out of place because no one else was being fun, so it's a bit almost awkward. You could just imagine the dead air in the room where he makes a joke and everyone else just whoa.
It's not a camera here, man. What are you doing?
Yeah. But yeah, and it was pretty fun. I feel like it was kind of inspired by Quicksilver, but
yeah,
whatever.
Oh, you mean in his abilities?
Well, also, have you seen the X-Men
yes.
version of Quicksilver? So he's obviously quite fun.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's his power. He's really quick, but I don't know how else you can
quick-witted.
Yeah.
There we go, that's it. So he's quick. He's also quick-witted.
That's the only thing you can do with him, though, showing him go really fast.
Oh, yeah, actually, I did have one complaint about him.
All right.
Well, it's kind of not really a complaint about him. It's a complaint about Superman. See, there's a scene where the Flash is running... Well, okay. 2 scenes. Number 1, the scene where the Flash fights Superman. And in it, you can see the Flash moving faster than Superman.
Mhm.
Superman is going to punch the Flash moves out of the way. And I was thinking, okay, this is good. Because one of the things about the Flash is you think to yourself, hold on a minute, the Flash is really fast. Superman is really fast. So the Flash has basically just got one of the powers Superman has.
Mhm.
And that's it. But then, of course, the Flash was outmaneuvering Superman. I was thinking, okay, this is interesting because, Superman, he is fast and he's very strong, but the Flash is faster. That's a, interesting dynamic. However, they ruin it, Luke, because at the end scene, there's a bit where Superman...
Overtakes
the
Flash,
Flash. Yeah, the Flash is running along and Superman overtakes him. I think, no, because that doesn't work, because, it's the one thing that the Flash is good at, he's fast. So you have, Superman, he's, very fast, and he's got all these superpowers. The Flash is very, very, very fast, and then that way it kind of evens out. But basically now, not only has the Flash got, one of Superman's powers, but he's actually slightly slower than Superman. So, cool decision.
Potentially it could be the Flash wasn't as going as fast as he could, and he was just,
he was saying, this isn't even my final form.
Yeah, he was just trying to make sure he found the civilians, so Superman couldn't get to them.
That's true. So Superman couldn't kill them.
So I think we're done.
Yes, that's good. And also, it's pretty late.
It is pretty late.
We would have finished half an hour. Tell you what, I just forgot to breathe, so it's a good time to stop. We would have finished half an hour earlier, but no. Anyway,
thank God we didn't get to this stage and realise we hadn't.
It's so I know. It's actually kind of insane that it's quite lucky that the conversation ended. Anyway, so what are your final thoughts on Superman?
So I'll just conclude here, Michael. So it's Justice League, Michael, not Superman.
Oh, yeah, sorry. What are your final thoughts on the individual Superman?
Yeah. So the Justice League, a incredibly generic superhero movie, which I think isn't as interesting as Batman v Superman. And here's the question for me: obviously they're two completely different movies, two completely different styles. But I do ask myself, which one would I rather watch? And obviously the funny answer is neither. Lol. But
you're funny.
But it's I think I might want to watch Batman v Superman more. I don't know, because it was just this movie was just so by the numbers, so dull, and it was I just didn't care. And at least Batman v Superman, it was okay, I can. Then now I'm thinking about it. I'm just thinking about Jesse Eisenberg.
Wait, did you actually bother to stick around for the after credits scene?
No.
Okay, see, basically, I thought I wasn't going to, and I thought to myself, I wonder if they do after credit scenes. I couldn't think whether or not they do. Mm-hmm. I was like, I wonder if they do. Checked out, they do, and basically it was literally Jesse Eisenberg meets, I think his name's Deathstroke. He's just a generic villain, but he's called Deathstroke. And Jesse Eisenberg was saying, so I hear that Superman and his group have put together a league. I think we should put together a league of our own. That was literally his line. It sounds great, I know, but and so basically Jesse Eisenberg is in this film. That's the important takeaway.
Yeah. So I just want to get this line from the Wikipedia page, which I thought was funny. The film received mixed reviews from critics, although the action sequences and performances were praised. The plot, writing, pacing, villain, and overuse of CGI were criticised. So basically everything. This was a bad movie, and now I'm thinking about it, I don't know which I'd rather watch between Batman v Superman and Justice League. Probably maybe Justice League because it's shorter. If time has to come into it, I'd go with Justice League. But it just goes to show Warner Brothers, Zack Snyder, whatever, they just didn't have a fucking clue what they were doing. Just two completely different movies, and just two awful movies. It's unbelievable. You think one would be maybe slightly better than the other, but no, it's just literally. I gave Batman v Superman a 4.5 out of 10, and I think I may have to also give this one. No, I'm going even lower. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. I'm going to put Batman v Superman slightly above it because I think at least it raised some questions which I find mildly interesting. And even though there's a lot of shit like Jesse Eisenberg and the whole Martha thing and the fight scene at the end, at least it's okay, there's something there. It's just just a little bit there, more than this movie. So I'm going to give Justice League a 4 out of 10.
Okay, well,
I don't know.
To be honest, so for me, I actually think that I was like, the problem is, like, I would say I was more pleasantly surprised by this film, but only in the way that it was very by the numbers. I think this film made a lot of kind of better choices than the previous films did, especially in terms of making the characters slightly funner, slightly more relatable. And in some ways, I think most of the problems of this film can be placed back to, I mean, not most of them maybe, but a significant proportion of the problems of this film can be placed back to the fact that it is building on a series of really bad films already.
I guess so. But that doesn't really skew it, though.
So I think, like, basically the reason why Steppenwolf had to be terrible is because they had to fit in all of this plot about other stuff. They had to literally rebuild the whole thing from the ground up. What they should have done, of course, is just restart everything. Hopefully they will do that in the future. Having said that, I am going to give this film credit for I think being slightly better in its own right and mostly just let down by the previous, or maybe not, again, maybe I say not mostly, but considerably let down by the previous films. I think they could have made this film probably, I'm going to kind of rate this film almost not quite what I would rate it if it was building off of better films, but
I don't think you can do that, though.
Well, you know what, okay, I'm not going to rate it as high as I rated better films, but I'm going to kind of take into account the quality of the filmmaking on display, but bearing in mind that this film is part of a series and therefore it will be let down a lot. I'm not going to give it a massively high rating. I'm going to rate it, though. I'm going to rate it actually 2 places ahead of Man of Steel.
The thing is, Michael,
maybe that's weird, but
they weren't forced to add like Cyborg or the Flash in this movie. They weren't forced to do that.
Well, I mean, okay,
they weren't forced to make a Justice League movie, but they did. Like, they didn't have to. It wasn't like, oh, now we've made the Batman v Superman movie, we have to make the Justice League movie. They didn't have to go like that. So I'm like, I don't really care.
You've changed my opinion because I've been thinking about it a lot. So here are the 2 films I had it above, apart from Man of Steel. I had it above Goal and The Grinch. Mm-hmm. In hindsight, I think The Grinch, which was the lower of the 2 films, was probably better. But I still actually think Man of Steel was worse. I think Man of Steel, just because Man of Steel to me had a lot of the same problems with just like the stupidity and nothing making sense and it feeling a bit overstuffed, and it was longer. So I'm still going to rate it just above Man of Steel, but just one above. It's not.
That's fair.
You have convinced me that The Grinch was just slightly better because Jim Carrey, let's be honest, The Grinch was a better villain than Steppenwolf. So yeah, throughout the kind of course of this discussion, upon really reflecting, I think that because obviously I did that and those were my immediate thoughts after watching it, but these things change as we evaluate them. So
that's fine. That's fine. You got to change your mind, Michael. You got to change your mind.
Yeah. Although Dawn of Justice is actually considerably lower, so I still disagree with you on that. Dawn of Justice here's the thing. Dawn of Justice is actually 6 points below.
Oh wow.
Because it's below Jurassic World, Tomb Raider, Grease, The Last Jedi, Mamma Mia, and of course Man of Steel.
Yeah. Well,
and those are all the films separating it from Justice League.
I've got a load of movies around that 4.5, 4 range.
Yeah. Yes. So, anyway.
Yeah,
So yeah, very very steep. Just gone past 11. So let's.
Yeah, so I'll wrap up then, Michael. This has been it. This has been the end of our DC Ember. Maybe we'll do this again. Probably not, though. Thank you for watching, and if you're listening on iTunes, thank you for listening on iTunes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's wild to say. We've been selecting and reflecting on Justice League because of DC Ember and the release of Aquaman, which I believe is released tomorrow. Which I'm guessing that actually. Let me just see the reviews for Aquaman.
It's actually not too bad.
How is it not? Oh, judging by that Pitbull song and everything.
Yeah, I know, you'd think so, but I mean...
68% on Rotten Tomatoes. So.
Okay, it was 70% when I last checked, so it's gone down.
Well, that's still good for DC.
Yeah, it's good. It's kind of like, that's like boring bad film score.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, hey, it's not the worst thing ever. So yeah, we've been selecting and reflecting on Justice League because of that, and also, just DC Ember in general. It's been a fun ride, Michael. It's been a fun topsy-turvy ride through Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and Justice League, just proving that, you can fuck up something like a superhero movie with 2 of the most popular superheroes in Batman and Superman in those movies. Incredible. Somehow Warner Brothers managed to do it.
Well done.
Yeah, well done to them. Next week, we shall be... What are we actually doing next week, Michael?
We're doing a Christmas film, but let me tell you right now. I can do it
Nightmare Before Christmas?
Dun, 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 dun. I don't think it is, but maybe I'm lying. Okay, you ready for this? Oh, yeah, we're doing A Nightmare Before
And
Christmas.
yeah, because of the 25th anniversary
Which
of it.
fantastically starts out with the Christmassy tune. This is Halloween, this is Halloween, this is Halloween.
Good stuff.
Great.
Anyway, yes, so we'll see you for that next week. Goodbye.
Yes. Goodbye.
You know who we
Yes,
didn't talk
so-
about in this movie at all, Michael? Amy Adams as Lois Lane.
Oh, what a surprise.